Hey, good morning, guys. It's Ron here, and it's Wednesday at noon Central Standard Time, and which means that I get to hop on here and spend a few minutes with you guys today, and hopefully, hang on a second. Hopefully, um, bring you some value and help you think through how to grow your new home niche business, because that's all what we're all about. So. Hey, wherever you are today, hope you're having an amazing week so far. Would love to connect with you. If you're on here today, be sure to right down there at the bottom, the little scrolly thing, that's a technical term, the little scrolly thing at the bottom. You can go to streamyard.com/Facebook and connect that up, and then you'll be able to message wherever you are on whatever page you're on. You'll be able to message in the group, and I'll be able to see it and comment back to you. So, and I love for these to be more interactive than just, my talking head. So would love for you to do that. So connect at streamyard.com/Facebook. You do it once and it's good for any future sessions you do with anybody. And a lot of people are starting to use StreamYard now. So, and maybe you guys will as well. So you'll need to have that. So, 2 weeks ago, and I apologize, I missed last week. We had kind of a weird week last week. My daughter, who I love to pieces, moved away from Central Illinois, moved to Texas, and leading up to that event and her moving to Dallas was it was a little shaky. Okay, there was a lot of packing her stuff and getting everything put together and getting her set on her way. And so in the day of her move was Wednesday last week. And so right when I was supposed to be in here doing this with you guys, and she was not quite ready to go. So anyway, so I missed it last week, but I'm here to make it up to you this week. And I want to talk to you real briefly today about, hold on one second here. Okay, cool. I want to talk to you briefly today about new construction buyers. I said a couple weeks ago when I started this series, I want to talk about new construction buyers and how you can begin to get more new construction buyers and attract new construction buyers. And and as a part of that, the way that you should think about this is in new construction, you have an opportunity. You have an opportunity in your market to become one of the dominant players in residential new construction. And I know that may shock the heck out of you. A lot of realtors are not aware of that. I'm going to show you a couple of reasons why. And we're going to start to, over the next 7 weeks, dive into how do I do that? What does that look like? What are some of the ways that I can begin to create massive differentiation for myself and create more value for builders, for land developers, and for new construction buyers? Hi, you Facebook user. I don't know who it is, so tell me who you are. So I don't call you Facebook user, but I'm glad you're here. I'm really glad you're here. So, and anybody else, if you're here, be like Facebook user who's about ready to tell me their name, and then I won't call them Facebook user anymore. It's me, James. Awesome. Good to see you, James. I sort of see you. Glad you're here. But, sorry about that. James Brown, the one and only, the famous James Brown. So, let's see. Where do I want to start? So first of all, if you saw the post that I put out, or the post that Cindy put out for me, kind of give a little bit of an idea of what it is that we're going to talk about for the next few minutes. But, I want to frame this, first of all, if you want to become viewed as a thought leader in new construction, if you want to be viewed as the game changer for your local market when it comes to new construction, and you absolutely can. Okay, the opportunity is wide open for any realtor that decides, hey, I'm going to own this market for new construction. It really, really is. you got to go step into it. Okay, but it's wide open in virtually every market because very, very few realtors are really going after new construction. But one of the things I learned early on about niching down in something is if you want to be viewed as the game changer, if you want to be viewed as the thought leader, one of the guys that I have studied a lot, Christopher Lochhead, he's got some great books out, by the way, Christopher Lochhead. He's all about how to become the category king in a thing, whatever your thing is, right? And our thing is, new construction, real estate. And one of the things that Christopher told me is that in our conversations back and forth is if you want to become the viewed as the thought leader in something, evangelize the problem. And I always thought that was such a weird thing when he told me that, evangelize. What does that mean, evangelize the problem? He said, in most cases, virtually any industry, any niche, there's problems. Okay, I get that. And the way that, and what happens with most people is that they avoid those problems. And I started thinking about it. I was like, yeah, that is absolutely true with realtors when it comes to new construction, that we sidestep the problems. And there are some pretty big problems in new construction when it comes to building a home, especially on the buyer side. Now, there's problems that the builders have, there's problems that the developers have, there's problems that the realtors have. But, if we're all the builder, the developer, the realtor, we're all out to serve that buyer, right? And there are some major, major problems that new construction buyers have. When I first started to see this, I had no idea how big it was. I did not. I just thought, well, this is just a problem in Champaign County where I am in central Illinois, which is not the hotbed of home building, by the way. But I started to see these problems, and the deeper we got into it, and we created Hoodle, and then we, started to be asked to speak to other home builders associations and going around and presenting what we were doing. And it's like, oh my word, I mean, it's bigger than what I thought. To the point that I remember one day being up in Chicago and driving around with Cindy. We just presented at a Home Builders Association meeting up in Chicago. And we said, okay, tomorrow, so I think it was a Friday night, so tomorrow we're going to go drive around and find the neighborhoods, right, in Chicago, the new home neighborhoods in the suburbs of Chicago. And we started driving around. I kid you not. It was, I knew it was a problem. That's why we created Hoodle, that you couldn't find the new home neighborhoods. And the thing that I think we don't realize is that I didn't realize is how big of a problem that really is. To where we know a lot of builders around the Chicagoland area. We know, a lot of the cities around Chicagoland. I'm not talking Chicago proper. I'm talking about out in the suburbs, Naperville, and all the western suburbs. And there's a lot of home building going on there. But we were going to be in town, and so we had Saturday morning free, and it's like, well, let's go find the neighborhoods. Let's go find the new home neighborhoods in this area. And so, without intending to, we inadvertently kind of fell into the role of this is probably what a buyer would experience. If somebody was wanting to build a new house in the Chicago, suburbs, they've got to find out where they can build. They've got to find out who they can build with. And ideally, they need to find a realtor who knows something about that. Now, those are just 3 of the problems. There's actually 7 that we've documented that we feel, and from interviewing hundreds and hundreds of new construction buyers, there's 7 major, major problems that buyers have. And what happened in this particular day, we were driving around and I called up one of my builder buddies and said, hey, Alan, where are the new home neighborhoods around blah, 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 around Plainfield, around Naperville? And he's like, I would get in my car and find such and such a street and drive west and then get on such and such a street and drive south, and you'll eventually run into where they're all happening. Well, obviously, even though Alan's a fine home builder, custom home builder in that market, he did not know where most of the neighborhoods were. So keep going, call up another builder and another builder. And we stopped in at a builder's office. Now, lo and behold, we're driving around. We find this builder's office. I stop in. And I'm in this builder's office where, beautiful showroom. And I'm saying, well, where is all the new construction around here? Oh, you're just going to have to get in your car and drive around. Wait a second. We're talking about Chicago. We're talking about Metro Chicago and all the suburbs. Just get in your car and drive around and you'll run into them. Well, they're down in such and such. They're over here and they're out there. And it's like, okay, this is interesting. But the builder said, you know what you need to do? You need to go over to the lighting company. I don't think that's not what it's called, but there's a lighting company that supplies all the home builders, in the whole Chicagoland area. Go over here, talk to John. John will tell you where all the new home neighborhoods are. I'm on it. We get back in the car, drive over, talk to John. John's like, yeah, they're just going to have to drive around. They're all over the place. And it's like, okay, this is kind of crazy. This is getting kind of cray-cray, as the kids called it, and I think John at the lighting center, whatever it was called, said, you know what I do? Go to Menards, go to the Pro Center in Menards, because they're delivering lumber to all the new home neighborhoods and supplies. And so, and here we are, we eventually found them, like about 6 or 7 hours in. It was like we came to this intersection. It was like, oh, that was Angel singing, by the way, in my angelic voice. But it's like the clouds parted, the angel sang, and all of a sudden there was 500 new home neighborhood signs all over the place. We've got some photos of it someplace. I was like, you got to get a picture of this. This is nuts, And I'm sure your market is the same way. You finally find the place. And there's D.R. Horton this way, and there's Lennar that way, and there's somebody else this way. There's neighborhood signs all over the place, at one corner. And the further we went, there's more and more and more of them. Now, it gets worse. You take a right. Okay, well, let's go. Which one do we want to go to? I don't know. Let's go to one of them. So we take a right, and you drive, and you find out that sign was actually strategically placed about 45 minutes away from where the actual community was. It's like, man, this is a mess. What a mess. Because if I was a new construction buyer, I'd be going, oh, heck no. Let's just go buy a house. We don't have the rest of our lives to just drive around, trying to figure out the lay of the land so now I realize not all new home buyers are from a distance, but here's the thing. Most buyers, all new construction buyers want to know their options. They want to know their options. They may not want to drive to every single neighborhood, of course not, but they want to know the options that fit with me. And this really gets into the crux of the problem here, is that the very first problem that new construction buyers have is answering the question of, where can I build? Okay, and kind of the order and the way to think about it with new construction buyers, a new construction buyer journey is way different than selling a used home, selling a pre-owned home. If you're selling a used home, the process is pretty straightforward. They say, we want a 4-bedroom, 3-bath, 2.5-car garage. We've got $550,000 or $350,000 or whatever it is to spend. And what do? You talk to them online, or you talk to them in your office, and you click, 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 you pull up your MLS and you do a search, $550,000, 4-bedroom, 3-bath, 2.5-car garage, blah, blah, blah. And here it is. Here's the 30 or so the homes that meet your criteria. And you either print it, or you send it, or you set up a bot to always tell you about the next one that comes on the market. And there you go, right? When it comes to new construction, and once you get them qualified, just go look at those houses and you're in the game. Okay. When it comes to new construction, the process is different, because the way the process works now is you're not looking for the house. I mean, you want, absolutely, you want to see the houses, but you also need to see the neighborhoods. In fact, the majority of people who are building a new home, the very first problem that they experience is not what's available as far as homes, but the first question that they experience is, where can we build our dream home? So it's not about the what, the house, it's about the where. They probably already know that they want a 4-bedroom, 3-bath, 2.5-car garage, blah, blah, blah. But with new construction, it's also very contextual. It's about the community or the surroundings of that home, right? We want to live in a 4-bedroom, 3-bath, 2.5-car garage where there's a tennis court nearby because our son is going to be a tennis pro, or there's a bike trail because the husband Bill likes to, or it's near a library, it's near, the highway, or it's near an airport, or there's a horse stable. It's all about the community. And we've always heard that real estate is location, location, location. Now, I believe that when it comes to new construction, it's that times 10. It's much more important to understand the where. For a new construction buyer, they want to know, what are my options on where I can build this size, this style, this price range home with the right amenities that I'm looking for on the house and in the community, in the surrounding community. Does it need to be a downtown? Does it, all of these things are big issues. Here's the problem. When we go to the MLS, most of those neighborhoods are not present on the MLS. A majority of new home neighborhoods either never make it to the MLS, or they make it for some life of the neighborhood, some small period of time, some window when they are actually listed on the MLS, but a majority of them are not. I first discovered this on my own as a realtor in new construction, that every time I had a buyer, and I got this understanding that it was pretty straightforward and simple to convert a used home buyer to a new home buyer. And the way you do that is solve their problems. You step into the problem. What I was saying earlier in the presentation, solve their problem, step into the problem, evangelize the problem. If you want to become viewed as a thought leader and a game changer in new construction, don't avoid the problems, call it out, okay, and provide a solution around it. Now, you don't have to solve the whole thing, but you need to be moving towards identifying what are the problems the new construction buyers have. How do I step into that? How do I add some value? And when you do this, you become viewed as very unique, because most realtors are not doing it. They're not doing it. Most realtors, when they have a new construction buyer, we all kind of do the same thing. It's kind of human nature. We're used to going and searching the MLS, right? We search the MLS for anything else. So we go to the MLS to also look for, well, where are the neighborhoods where my client can build this size, this style, this price range home, preferably with the right amenities that they're looking for, in the home or in the community. And the problem is that when you do that search, the results that come up are not stellar, okay? They are, in our estimation, from everything that we've seen, typically in most markets, about 65 or 70% of new home neighborhoods are not on the MLS. So think about that. 65 to 70%. So this is the first question that a new home buyer has. We know what we want to build, and we've decided we're going to entrust, you as a realtor to be our fiduciary and our guide. What we need to find out now is, well, where can we build that? And 65 to 70% of new home neighborhoods are not present on the MLS. Now, what we, as realtors, when we're selling used homes, we've just we've taken it for granted, right? That I can go in and punch in whatever I'm looking for, and boom, there it is. Everything that's available except for FSBOs. But the interesting thing is when you're looking at the new construction market, it's kind of like it's a whole FSBO market. It's not FSBOs, I'm not saying that, but a majority of those neighborhoods are not present. And this is the very first problem and the very first question that the buyer needs to get resolved is, what are my options for where? They do not start thinking about who am I going to build with. And they're not thinking about what am I going to build. They already know the what. They've had a dream home, maybe for a quote dream home for years, some cases. You probably experienced this. I know I experienced it a lot with buyers, that they've been dreaming about this particular style of home and, all the things that they want to do in their home and stuff. They've had that for years. So they know the what. So the very next question that they have to get resolved when they pull the trigger, when they go, let's do this. I know it's scary, it's tough, but let's build our dream home. And so the first thing that has to get resolved is, well, what are my options on where? And that very first step, they get stuck in the mud. They get stuck in the mud, even if they're talking to a realtor, because most realtors don't know the options either. It's not our fault. It's not your fault. It's just the way it is. However, you can step into that problem and start to solve it in a new way. It takes a little bit of work, right? But you can start to add value very quickly to new construction buyers where you're going, look, I'm not concerned, Mr. and Mrs. Jones. My focus is not just to give you what's on the MLS. I want you to see your options on where you can build this house, the options that meet your criteria. From there, and what we'll do is, tell me what you want to build. I'm going to go pull together the plat maps and the neighborhoods and the plat maps and the covenants and the architecture review forms when they're needed. And is this a master planned or an open community? Is it like one builder or any builder can be there? And I'm going to put together this little folder for you that is going to have basically all the information in it on here's every place you can build. I don't care if it's listed or if it's not listed, because I know you don't care, Mr. and Mrs. Jones. I know what you care about is finding the right community where you're going to build your dream home. And I tell you what, people love that so much, because and I've had so many people say, I've never had a realtor that's done this for us, because most realtors, not you, but most realtors are not. Most realtors will, when it comes to the new home neighborhood, they go to the MLS and they punch in and they're, so if you're searching the MLS, here's the two things you can search for, right? You can't search for neighborhoods on any MLS that I've ever seen. You can search for active residential lots. So you can go in and say, okay, for such and such a county, or for all of Houston, or for all of Denver, or for whatever your target area is, show me all the active residential lots. And I want to tell you something about that too, you need to know too. And whatever it comes back with, and it says, well, there's 3,000 lots. But what you're really concerned about, what the buyer's concerned about, is not the lot, but the community that lot resides in and what's available in that community. Is this making sense? Tell me if it's making sense. But so we do a search for active residential lots. The other thing we can sometimes search for, you can search for this. You can't, in most MLSs, you cannot search for new construction homes, but you can search for homes that are on the market that are 0 years old, or less than 1 year old, or however your MLS has it set up. And every MLS is a little bit different, but show me everything that's on the market that's 1 year old or less, and or 0 years old. And that again is going to show you spec homes or to be builts that are listed on the MLS, where it's just a lot, but there's a proposed home that's going to go on that lot, right? So that is about the extent that most realtors are taking with this when it comes to a new construction buyer. And then maybe the next step, if you really want to go, to the distance, the next thing you do is you go to and you do a Google search. And well, actually, the second thing is probably top of mind awareness. Well, let's see. I know I'm seeing these neighborhoods, and there's 5 neighborhoods that are here that might be Mr. and Mrs. Jones criteria, but what else am I knowing about? What else? Oh, Lennar's got that one, DRR's got that one. And so you start to think of other ones, right? Just not a real great way, to say to the buyer, hey, here's all the options, right? And we never want to say, here's all your options. Hello, Facebook user. Tell me who you are. So I'm not calling you Facebook user. I'm glad you're here. And thank you for saying hello. So we look on the MLS. We do the top of mind awareness. Let me see, what else am I not thinking of? Maybe we ask around. Elka Graham, glad you're here. Good to see you. So we search the MLS for active lots. We ask around. Elka went through this, actually. Elka went through this exact same thing, didn't you, Elka, that I'm talking about, in not being able to find the appropriate neighborhood to build my home. Elka, I'd love to tell that story. I'd love to share your story sometime. But it is so prevalent. Elka says, yes, I can tell the story. I can tell the story. Is that all right, Elka? I think that was Elka saying yes. It is so prevalent, you would not believe. The buyers cannot find the neighborhoods where it's the top problem out of what we've documented as 7 new construction buyer problems that they have in their buyer journey. There's actually more than that. But the number one is they can't find the neighborhoods. Now, in Elka's case, Elka was looking for Elka is in the Nashville market. She's a wonderful realtor, wonderful person, amazing realtor, and she wanted to build a home, but she wanted to build a, what do we call this, Elka? An age-in-place home, or a CAPS home. She wanted a home where there's going to be wider hallways for, Elka says yes. Okay, you guys saw it. She said I could tell the story. So Elka wanted to build a home for herself and her husband and her father-in-law, I believe. Okay, here we go. All right. Single story, disability accessible. Thank you. Thank you very much. Whew. All right. You saved me here, Elka. So this is what Elka wanted to build in the greater Nashville area, the Franklin area. And how long did you spend, Elka, trying to find that neighborhood, trying to find the right, tell me something about your journey with this, because this is a perfect example of it. Okay, so this good info, already focusing on community helps share the story. So it is a huge problem that buyers can't find the neighborhood options. They've got to know what the neighborhood options are. Or what they do is they go, maybe we won't do it right now. It looks kind of risky. And keep in mind, the way consumers are today, okay, all buyers, I don't care if we're buying movie tickets, I want to know what my options are. I'm going to spend 20 bucks. Well, actually, probably $100 these days if I go to the movies. If I'm buying a pair of tennis shoes, I want to know what my options are. And the pricier the purchase, or the more complex the purchase, the more I need research, the more that I want to know that I'm making the right decision, because the risks are higher. And I will tell you something, there is no larger or more complex purchase that anybody ever undertakes than building their dream home. It's the largest purchase that I can think of, most complex purchase that anybody ever undertakes, is building their dream home. It doesn't mean we shouldn't help them. It doesn't mean that well, that's just too tough. I'm not going to do that. I just want to go to the MLS. They deserve, new construction buyers deserve to have a guide. They deserve to have a fiduciary. We need to honor the fact that they don't have appropriate help. They don't. There are so few realtors out here across the United States, city by city, that have said, you know what? Yep, it's a pain getting started. I've got to go find these neighborhoods. And realtors aren't doing it. Consequently, what's happened is, because of this, and it's not really anybody's fault. A lot of people do it like, well, how do I find the neighborhoods? We'll save that for another topic, but another time. But if we don't know the inventory of where to build, if we don't know the inventory of who to build with, how in the world are we going to be viewed as fiduciaries? How in the world are we going to be, hey, I'm your guide. I'm going to hold you. We're going to lock arms. I'm going to hold your hand. We're going to walk through this life experience together, which is a big life experience for people. But I've talked to so many people, not just buyers. I've talked to people that work for the city, that work for county, that work for zoning. They're like, oh my gosh, you're right. I can't find it. Here, I got to catch up here. So Elka's saying she got exhausted on her own. She contacted a realtor friend who also didn't know the new construction properties, ended up finding something together. But how long did it take you, Elka, to find that? How long was this process of just discovering the where, just getting the answer to a where question that you needed so you can move forward with the who and the what? Still not certain that we are aware of all the options because there was no full listing of new construction and builder options. So this is a perfect example. And, in Elka's case, it was a disability enabled home. But it doesn't matter if it's that or if it's, I just want to build a ranch home with a walkout basement. 70% of new home neighborhoods are not listed. They are not on the MLS. And if that is our go-to, I'm going to go check the MLS for you. We'll be good to go. It's not good to go. It might be good to go for me, but if I'm not really showing them that, hey, there's, folks, there's 5 other options that we need to go take a look at that might suit you better, then are we really being the fiduciary and the guide? And, unfortunately, and I don't mean to be critical, but, if we're not critical of ourselves, then the outside world is going to be critical for us. Okay. So we have to call out ourselves. We have to figure out a better way to add value to this equation. Look, there are well over 1 million people a year that are building a new construction house, and the numbers are going up, up, up. They're skyrocketing. More and more people want new construction, but the number of realtors that is doing one or more new construction homes a year is like razor thin. There are so few realtors. It's less than 1 in 1,000 realtors in any market that we've studied. We've studied over 25 markets. We look at the MLS, we look at the solds, new construction solds year in, year out, a lot of different markets. Everything we found, it's less than 1 in 1,000 realtors is doing one or more, doing more than one new construction home a year. Elka says, Elka, cool, you got the thing signed up here. She looked for a couple months, would have looked longer, but she really wanted to start building quickly. So, you can imagine if you're a buyer, okay, and we put ourselves in the shoes of the buyers and they're going, not so much. This looks like it's going to be a pain, right? And we need to make a decision and get something, under contract. So, because we got to get moved, okay? And so from a buyer's perspective, it tends to look like we don't know the inventory. We don't know the options, okay, when it comes to new construction. And we need to know the options. We just do. But even to take it further, and this is not our topic today, but on the builder developer side, they're looking at it going, realtors are not, haven't really figured out this new construction thing a whole lot. A lot of times realtors will say to me that, well, You know, I hear realtors saying online, not the realtors that know me because they know that, you know, I'm probably get pushed back on it. But a lot of times online realtors say, well, builders hate realtors. No, they don't. They do not. They don't. They, in fact, it's just the opposite. When a builder finds a seriously focused new construction realtor, they will partner with you. Think about that. You're not talking one listing, you're talking about a whole bunch of listings, right? And I've talked to many builders who and developers, big and small, mid-sized companies. You know, they'll start a new neighborhood and there'll be 100 homes in the neighborhood. Guess what? There's 100 commissions that are sitting out there. There are 100 realtor enabled transactions that are right there in that one neighborhood. Okay. Now, unfortunately, what happens most often is one realtor sold one realtor sold one realtor sold one, and all the way through the neighborhood, you know, one realtor selling this one selling that one. But what the builder would, and they're, you know, obviously they're going to honor that, and you're going to get a commission on it. But the way that builder really wants to operate with you or with a realtor or a small number of realtors is they want to find who are my key realtor partners that I can entrust, that they understand my business, they understand the inventory, they understand the new construction buyers, and I'm going to give them a lot of listings. I experienced it firsthand, and now I'm teaching other realtors all over the country how to do this. Okay. And it's not rocket science, and I'm not brilliant. I just approached it in a different way. I was lucky that I approached it a different way, and I started to discover that, you know, what we carry a lot of times is a myth in our heads. Well, you know, there's not much value I can provide in new construction. A lot of realtors will say that too. It's not true. It's just we have to step into the problem. So the number one problem, guys, is that the buyers can't find new construction neighborhoods. So let me throw another number at you too that's helpful, and then we'll go ahead and wrap up. And by the way, if you got any questions or comments, anything you want to cuss or discuss, feel free to post it here. You know, stay anonymous if you want to. But you know, I'm here to try to help you think through this, and when you start to recognize maybe the way I've approached it has been the wrong way, you start to pursue it differently, and things start to pop. You can start to move ahead in new construction very, very quickly. And part of it is understanding, a big part of it is understanding the inventory. And it's not just the neighborhoods, it's also the builders and the homes, right? So starting to get a handle, but the very first one you want to focus on is the neighborhood itself. Okay, before you focus on the builders, before you focus on, well, this builder has ranch homes and this one has 2 stories and this one, you know, start with the neighborhoods. Okay, the neighborhoods and understanding the neighborhood options, listed or not listed. If it's got one lot in it, is it an option? I had a lot of realtors that will say too, well, you know, that neighborhood it's only got 5 lots in it, so I don't really need to worry about that. Well, guess what? The buyer only wants to build one home. They don't care that it's got 5 lots, it's got 1 lot, or it's got 100 lots. You know, they care about what is the right place for me or for us to build our dream home. And they deserve to know all the options, listed or not. I don't care. If it's in the city, if it's out in the woods, it doesn't matter. You know, if it's, one builder that's doing the whole neighborhood, or if it's 5 builders or any builder can be there, it doesn't really matter what I want. It doesn't matter what's simple for me. If I want to be a fiduciary and if I want to be a guide, I need to step up into this game and go, look, buyers, this may be your one shot. You're building your dream home. It's a life experience. Most people haven't done it before. I'm going to hold your hand through this process. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go find the neighborhoods where you can build that home. Okay. If I beat this to death, Elka, I think I've kind of beat it to death. But about 70% of the new, about 70% of the new home neighborhoods are missing from the MLS. And so this is the first place. This is a amazing space that you can step into right now in your market and begin to address that problem. Don't run away from it. Well, that's confusing. Well, that's hard. Well, step into the problem, because you will very quickly. Elka says I can keep going another minute. So, you will very quickly be viewed as the game changer, the thought leader. I am telling you, it may sound fundamental, but it is so powerful. Yeah, I'll tell you another quick story and then we'll wrap up. When we first started to discover this, and by the way, Cindy and I live in a very small town outside of Champaign, Illinois. I mean, it's even smaller than Champaign. Champaign's a university town. It's not very big. This is not the hotbed of home building in central Illinois, okay? But even here, I had, as a realtor with Coldwell Banker and a specialist in new construction, I had a massively big problem just trying to find the neighborhoods. Now that we're not talking Chicago, where there's roughly about 4,000 new home neighborhoods, or Houston or Denver, where there are thousands of new home neighborhoods that are available to a buyer. And they don't drive thousands, neither do you, but they would like to know if there's 7 of them, what are the top 7 that meet my criteria? And it's not good enough to just go, well, here's the production ones, here's the easy ones for me to find. I think if we want to be a fiduciary, and if you want to be a thought leader, you step into that problem and go, okay, well, how am I going to do this? How am I going to find these neighborhoods? And let me go find the neighborhoods for this buyer. Here's what happens. They start to see you as being different from every other realtor that they've ever dealt with when it comes to new construction. And who else does? The builders and the land developers. They start to see you as being the differentiation. You are truly becoming a new construction specialist. When you step into the problem, you recognize, okay, it's a problem, right? But I'm going to solve it for these buyers. Here's the other thing that happens that you need to understand about new construction buyers is new construction buyers find out their information about where to build, who to build with. Where do you think? Anybody have an idea? Put it in there. Where do new construction buyers do their research? Because they have even less access to research than we do. Okay. And so if they're just a new construction buyer, well, let's build a house this year, Marge. Where do they do? Where do you think they find their research? They're going to go online, right? And when they go online, they don't find a whole lot. Now, because of what we're building with Hoodle, and because of you and realtors that are becoming a part of this, we are collectively, as an organization, as realtors, we're collectively changing the game. And realtors that are part of Hoodle they're clearly thought leaders in the eyes of the builder and the developer and the new home buyer. Elka says, thank you, Elka. Thank you for responding. Elka says online, they go to Zillow, they go to realtor.com, they go to Redfin. Yep. And the problem is, that even like on Zillow still has, the same 30% that the MLS has, right? Because Zillow is a syndication of all the MLSs. And so they're still missing this. When we first started this, and we started to see that this is a problem. It's a substantial problem for buyers that has been sidestepped and missed. Most people in the industry don't recognize how big these issues are, how important and vital they are for a lot of parties and we, I still say we, my license is on the shelf now, but as realtors, we have the opportunity to step into this space and change the narrative and change the game, because we can step into this, provide massive value to new construction buyers, to builders and developers. And why not? Why not be the head and not the tail of this thing? Why not be the leaders of making change and adding value? And so the thing I was saying earlier, so Elka's right. I was asking, where do new construction buyers get their information? They go online, they go to Zillow, they go to Realtor, they go to Redfin, they go online. Here's the other place. They talk to each other massively. New home buyers are talking to other new home buyers. I've surveyed neighborhoods. I've talked to hundreds of new home buyers, and I've asked them, how did you pick this neighborhood? How did you pick this builder? And over again, they're like, we talked to other people who built houses, and we asked them, hello, is this registering? Is this resonating with you? If you win over one new construction buyer, you've won over their whole sphere of influence, because there's other new construction buyers that are going to be reaching out to that one saying, hey, who helped you when you built this dream home of yours? Okay. It is massively big and big opportunity. Okay. So I'll tell you the story. When we were first getting started with this, and we created Hoodle. If you guys haven't seen Hoodle, I don't know if some people may not be aware of Hoodle. If you're not, you really should. You got to know about Hoodle. I don't know if I've got a link to it here already set up, but now it's at Hoodle.com, and you absolutely need to know about Hoodle and be able to talk about it, whether or not you're on Hoodle or using Hoodle or part of it. You don't want to be, left in the dark when somebody says, oh, have you heard about that Hoodle thing? No, I never heard of it. You need to know about it. If you want to be a thought leader in new construction, find out what we're doing, because it's game changer. Okay. And, but when we first created this and I started to drill down into this problem, and I remember going into a zoning office in our local community, and it took me a while to even find out who's in charge of zoning. Do you guys know? Do you know who's in charge of zoning in your market? Do you know who are the people that are at the front edge of designing the neighborhoods and building the neighborhoods, and what the new home neighborhood process is, and where the new home neighborhoods are be built next and next to next? Get in the front of this and start to learn this stuff, and you are massively way ahead of all the other realtors in your market. Like that. It's not overnight, it's step by step by step. But you can leave all your realtor competitors in your rearview mirror, in your dust, okay? Where within a matter of weeks and months, in your niche market of new construction, you can be ahead of 95% of them, okay? With your understanding of the marketplace, the inventory, the dynamics of new construction. And you will very quickly be viewed as different than everybody else. But one of the things we did, we went and found the zoning professional. Sorry, ADD is a wonderful thing. But, we went and found the zoning professional in our market. Facebook user said, Hoodle is awesome. Woo-hoo. I don't know who you are. Is that James? But, tell me who you are. And for crying out loud, if you guys would go to the StreamYard.com/Facebook, it doesn't cost you a penny, not a dime. And then I don't have to call you Facebook user anymore. We can be like, civilized humans here on StreamYard and on a Facebook Live. So anyway, we go to the zoning office and find out who the zoning professional is for our area, who is over all of the new home neighborhoods. Really, there's a person like that in every market. There may be a whole department, of people like that maintain the plat maps and maintain the covenants and restrictions of every neighborhood that says whether you can build a shed, whether you can have a swimming pool, whether you can have a fence, and how tall or short the fence can be, and how much brick needs to be on the house. Somebody's got to track that stuff. Yes, sirree. James Brown, hardest working man in real estate. I love that, James. That's cool. That is awesome. And we go to the zoning professional, and we said, and Cindy was with me, and it was like, hey, we want to find all the new home neighborhoods in our little area, because I kept finding more and more of them. And sometimes you just stumble across them. You're driving out in the country and look at this. Here's another one. And I go back and look at the MLS. Well, this is not on the MLS either. there's obviously home sites in here. They're all stubbed out for electric. There's streets and already got the driveway cut, to put a home there. No home. They're just a lot. No realtor sign. Just a neighborhood. And so it's like, okay, we got to find these. And I go to the zoning professional, find the zoning professional, first step. And I called her up and I said, and her name's Terry, wonderful lady. And I said, hey, Terry, we'd like to come meet with you. And, we really want to find out about all the neighborhoods where you can build a house. And so we go in to meet with her. I know I take it back. We met with her and then I told her what it was about. So we get together with her and we're in her office. And I said, how many neighborhoods are there in our little area right around our little, small, not all of Champaign, just in our little area right around here, where you could build a new home? And she's like, now this is the zoning person. And she's a sharp zoning person. And she said, well, I think there's 9. No, I guess there's 10. Well, maybe I think there's 12, and I guess there's like 15. And she's thinking about it. Okay. And she said, are you guys going to build? And I said, no. Well, I said, we are eventually, but not today. I said, but, we have a website where we're aggregating all of the places where somebody can build. And she said, well, excuse me, but why do you want to do that? And I asked her, where do you store this? How do you know how many there are? What the options are, how many there are, where the covenants, the plats, the available lots, all this information, where is it? She said, well, it's down in the basement. We'll get these big file cabinets. If you've ever seen the plat maps too, the way they store them. I mean, it's big paper that it's on. It's not 8.5 by 11. They've got it on big paper. She said, it's down in the basement. I said, how often do you access that? She said, I've got to go down there 2 or 3 times a day to look up something for somebody, to know whether or not they can have a fence or what the lot lines are or something. I said, and she said, well, why you'd want to do this? I said, because we're building a website where we can aggregate all this information to make it streamlined and simple for a buyer to know where they can build and then who they can build with and which builders are available. And she I kid you not, James, is like her mouth dropped open. She's like, and the rest of the time we were there, she sat there with her mouth kind of agape. It's a nice word, agape. And she's like, and I get done telling her what we're doing and showed her the website. And she's like, I never thought of this. She said, this never occurred to me. This is what's happening, guys, city by city across the country. She said, I never considered this. She said, I've been in zoning for 25 years. She said, I headed up zoning for all of St. Louis. And then I moved to Bloomington, Illinois, and headed up zoning there. And then we moved over to Monticello, and now I head up zoning here. And she said, it never occurred to me. The people need to know this. And she said, and she told me a story. And I'm going to wrap up with this because you guys got other stuff to do than listen to me. She said, when we moved to Monticello, where we are now, she said, I went and found a realtor and who I thought specialized in new construction, said they specialized in new construction. I said to her, I guess, I don't know if it was specifically because of the new construction, but she said, we want to build a house. And every place we go, we want to build our own house. And so that's the way a lot of new construction buyers are. When they move, they want a new home. They want another new home. And once they get through the process, they want to do it over and over. And she said, we want to build a house. And so realtor went to the MLS and pulled up the available neighborhoods and said, okay, here's the 2 or 3 neighborhoods where you could build. She said, we went and we looked at those neighborhoods. We bought a lot. We hired the builder, and I think it was in the fall, I think she said. She said they were getting ready to build. They were out there with the bulldozers, with the what do you call it, the thing that's going to dig the hole, backhoe, and they're getting ready to dig the basement. And she said the day that all the machinery is out there getting ready to dig the basement, put the foundation in for their new construction home, she went garage sailing. And she said, I was driving around, and she said, out of the clear blue, went to this garage sale. pulled into this neighborhood, and she's like, OMG, oh my gosh, we bought the wrong lot. And they're getting ready to start digging the hole over in that neighborhood. And this is the neighborhood we need to be in. And this is the zoning person who heads up zoning and manages all this information. Guys, I'm telling you, this is like a major, if this is not an aha for you, you're multitasking too much. But when you start to get this, that you can step into this problem right here, and there's 6 more and we're going to cover in the next 6 weeks. But when you step into this problem right here, very quickly, you are the differentiation. You have a unique value proposition. You have a unique approach that the buyers absolutely will love you for it, and they will refer you out. And not only them, but so do the builders, so do the developers, so do the zoning professionals, so do the economic development people. They all love you. And your leads, new construction leads, will begin to flow in more and more and more. There's this whole ecosystem around the home building process. And when you step into it and solve a problem, you're the game changer. Man, oh man, oh man. I feel like we need to pass the plate or something. Guys, thank you so much if you've joined with me here today. I hope this has been some value to you, but most of all, if it is, go do something with it. Hey, let me give you a couple of quick things here real quick as we're wrapping this up. If you're not part of the New Home Niche Blueprint group, you probably are, but if you're not, join that and be a part of the New Home Niche Blueprint group. But what I wanted to show you is nope, that's not it. Right there. Nope, that's not it either. Hang on a second. We have a website called New Home Niche Blueprint, where if I can find it on there, that's not it either. I'm sorry. Here we go. All right, the scrolly thing at the bottom, newhomenicheblueprint.com. If you go there, download the ebook it's got all 7 of the problems in it. I still want you to show up for next week, okay? Because we're going to get into detail in the next one. But there's an ebook. It's got 7 problems that new construction buyers have. What in the heck? How do I turn this thing off here? There's 7 problems that the new construction buyers have, and you can download the ebook, and there's 7 videos that go along with it. So some of the stuff that I covered today you'll hear in the other video. I probably talked longer today than I did in the other video, but begin to become familiar with this stuff. And when we do, we start to step into the problem. Pass the plate. Yeah, exactly. We start to step into this problem, and everybody starts to see you as being different because you are different. Okay. So we have a massive, massive opportunity, and we really have an obligation. If we want to serve this segment of buyers well, and trust me on this, or go find out for yourself, this segment of buyers has been drastically overlooked, to the point that it's kind of unfair to them. I want to say the word disgraceful. It is. It's a little disgraceful that we have this big opportunity as realtors to step into this and provide massive value, and as an industry, we've sidestepped it. We've completely missed it. So what I want you to do is take hold of it and own it, because we're not talking about a little bit of business. We're talking about a lot of business. Okay, we're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars of commissions as you begin to step into this in a new way. Whew. All right, listen, if there's any way I can help you, reach out to me. If you got anybody else that, other realtors that you think might be good in new construction, invite them into the group, invite them into the New Home Niche Blueprint group, or introduce them, because we have an opportunity. And by the way, if you haven't checked out Hoodle, guys, you got to check out Hoodle. You just got to know what's going on here, okay? This thing is growing fast. And, about the slowest part of it is me, okay? But it's growing fast, and I would love for you to be a part of it if you're serious about being a leader in new construction. And kind of place that caveat, because You know, I want people that are part of it, that are ready to go. And I'll show you how to do it. And you get this whole community of other realtors that are absolutely amazing. We're all learning from each other. So, guys, I hope you're having an amazing week and a blessed week. And I hope that you go out there today and the rest of this week and be amazing for somebody else, because they deserve it. And so do you. That's all I got to say today. Thank you so much for being with me, and I hope you have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you next week, Wednesday at noon.